Welcome back to Jose Serrano Special Vehicles. Every video we watched Destroying Seconds Volume 1, 2, 3, and 2 was episode 20, 28, and 29. The same on my channel from Jose Serrano Special Vehicles playlist, such as Destroying Seconds as a television show. Before I start the video, let's just discuss. I watched Destroying Seconds when I was a kid in Venezuela. I was little. I saw episode 1 to 64, such as season 1 and 2. So, even after the video, and after the music, and after the month and the week, and after the video, and after the videos, played Space and Time by 009 Sound System. It was 009 Sound System from 2009. I played Space and Time. After Destroying Seconds, it's gonna be different. So, grab the water and don't sit down. Just be active. Enjoy the show. This show time.
Without so much as a warning, life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. In the blink of an eye, destruction can turn an ordinary day into a struggle for survival. Mayhem erupts on an Australian racetrack when two Porsche 911s collide at over 180 miles an hour. And customers flee in terror when a 2-ton car plows through the front of a grocery store. Don't even try to get comfortable, because everything is going to be destroyed in seconds. In excess of 186 miles per hour. 25 custom-built Porsche 911 GT3s race in the Wright Patent Shakespeare Carrera Cup.
Going down into turn 3 there. There's a bit of a bump under braking.
High speeds.
They're bouncing around a fair bit.
Hairpin turns.
And they're on the outside for turn 3.
And close calls are the ultimate test for these drivers and their $250,000 race cars. It's lap 2, and in the black car, Cameron McLean attempts to gain position on 4th place holder, Rodney Jane.
Cameron McLean menacing the back of Rodney Jane there. He's going to try the over and under trick.
Rounding the turn at 100 miles per hour, McLean gets a fast run out of the corner.
McLean may have the upper hand here.
With both vehicles now traveling on the same line, Jane accidentally hits McLean's left rear quarter panel.
There's been contact. McLean's over. That's a big one.
McLean loses control, launching his car over the curb. It smashes through signage and barrel rolls nearly 8 times. The front wheel flies off. The door is ripped away. Debris from the crash goes flying. The Porsche finally lands on its side, roughly 330 feet away.
Massive crash. That's gone over at least 4 or 5 times.
Seconds later, McLean climbs out of the mangled wreckage.
Thankfully, Cameron's okay.
He credits his ability to walk away from the crash to 2 factors. One, the protection offered by his head and neck support system, which is called the Hans device. And the other is his roll cage. Repairs to McLean's Porsche total $150,000 in parts alone. A catastrophe looms on the horizon as residents watch a blazing Russian oil refinery in the distance spew black smoke. 8 massive tanks storing over 31 million gallons of crude oil are rapidly heating up. The stored oil has a flash point of 141 degrees. Firefighters spray the tanks with water and foam in an attempt to cool down the oil. But their efforts prove futile as a pillar of fire shoots almost 200 feet into the air. No one is prepared for what happens next. From 12 miles away, one of the 5 million gallon storage tanks appears to silently explode. The shockwave hits seconds later. The delay is because both sound and the shockwave travel slower than the speed of light. The powerful concussion reaches towns more than a dozen miles away. Inside the refinery, emergency crews work through the night, extinguishing the flames. After 20 hours, firefighters finally bring the blaze under control. By mid-afternoon, all that's left are the charred remains of 4 of the 8 tanks. $4.5 million in crude oil has gone up in flames. Reconstruction costs are estimated at an additional $48 million. Officials say a lightning strike triggered the blaze. Of the 8 firemen who suffer burns, 4 later succumb to their injuries. Thankfully, fire crews safely evacuate hundreds of plant employees. The refinery is found to be in violation of several safety measures and is fined $200,000. The plant continues to operate today. Hold up. To riders and fans, it's known as FMX. To everyone else, it's freestyle motocross. One of the most spectacular and dangerous two-wheeled sports. In competitive FMX, the goal is to impress the judges by pulling off the most outrageous stunts imaginable. And risk is a part of the equation. June 27, 2009. 24-year-old Thomas Paget is a top FMX rider from France. His plan is to wow the crowd and judges at the Stockyard Arena by pulling off a front flip. A trick never before attempted in FMX competition. With good reason. June 2009. A freestyle motocross event in Fort Worth, Texas. Champions from around the world flip and soar, all in hopes of taking home the first place trophy. Thomas Paget is behind in the point standings after a botched landing. Judges are sure to eliminate him unless he unleashes something spectacular. Tomas attempts the first ever front flip in freestyle competition history. Tomas launches perfectly, but he starts his rotation too late, not allowing enough time to complete the front flip. Realizing in midair that the trick is botched, he tries to push himself away from the bike. He plummets the height of a 3-story building onto the hard-packed dirt. His 225-pound motorcycle lands just inches away. Tomas lies on the ground holding his left hip. Moments later, the fallen rider is able to stand. Tomas limps out of the stadium, waving to his fans. Tomas suffers severe bruising, and his bike incurs $750 in damages. Just 3 weeks later, he's back competing. But the front flip has yet to be completed in competition. At 2,600 feet above sea level, extreme snowmobiler James Peyroux carves up virgin snow, wherever he can find it. Riding a 160 horsepower machine, James pushes the limits of gravity and geography. Today, James and his friends are videotaping some stunts for an extreme sports video. In search of his next big drop, James checks out a snowy glade. The location appears to be an ideal spot for a picture-perfect jump. James goes for it. James doesn't enter the jump with enough speed. He tries to grab more air by lifting his nose. But lands directly on a log partially hidden in the snow. The impact vaults him over the handlebars. His snowmobile then runs him over. Out of control, the sled flips 3 times before coming to a stop.
Oh my gosh. You all right?
James and his friends are 10 miles from their vehicles, and the nearest hospital is another 40-minute car ride beyond that. Bleeding and in excruciating pain, James remounts his snowmobile and rides the 10 miles. An X-ray reveals fractures in James' L2 and L3 vertebrae. He also suffers a concussion and a gash to his face. After 6 months of physical therapy, James makes nearly a full recovery. He still rides his snowmobile in the backcountry, but now avoids attempting extreme stunts like this. September 2000. It's called the Parker Strip, a stretch of Colorado River renowned as a playground for water sports. But when 2 friends decide to race their flat-bottom boat, winning soon takes a back seat to surviving. Located on the border between Arizona and California, the Parker Strip section of the Colorado River is the scene of many impromptu boat races and accidents. Gilbreth and James Mayer race a 1972 Byers against a much larger Eliminator. The Byers hits a wake and comes down slightly on its right side, throwing the boat off balance. The small vessel flips and ejects the men, narrowly missing them. James on the left somersaults 3 times before disappearing off camera. Henry, the driver, bounces and skids on his backside almost 50 feet across the water. Their friends in the Eliminator quickly come to the rescue. Henry and James are examined by doctors and released from the hospital with minor bruises. Their friends manage to get the damaged Byers ashore several hours later. The $10,000 boat is a total loss. At the time of this crash, accidents on the Parker Strip are a frequent occurrence. Over one 4-year period, it's the site of nearly 300 boating accidents. September 21st, 2007. Severe weather brings torrential downpours on the residents of Almuncar, Spain. 2 local rivers rapidly overflow, sending a surge of water raging through the city. The destructive current ravages buildings and other structures. Vehicles weighing 2 tons and more are no match for the powerful current. The floodwaters quickly fill an industrial yard. The mounting pressure proves to be too much for its perimeter fence. The debris-filled water then spills into another yard protected by a retaining wall. The wall separates the yard from a nearby garage, which is beginning to flood. Residents rush to save their cars. The cement block retaining wall begins to sprout leaks, leading to its inevitable collapse. The torrent of muddy water explodes through the wall and surges down the incline. The onslaught quickly floods the garage. When the storm passes in the late afternoon, residents begin the massive cleanup. 1 person loses his life due to the storm, which leaves 290 garages flooded, 68 houses destroyed, and over 1,300 vehicles waterlogged. Damages are estimated at more than $104 million. The deluge is responsible for the worst flooding to hit the area in 40 years. When the gate opens, one thing is certain. Either the bull will use its 2,000 pounds of fury to toss the cowboy, or the horn will sound, signifying the rider's 8 seconds are up. But no matter how long the ride, the danger is always the dismount. As this Brazilian bull rider knows all too well. The rodeo veteran is less than 3 seconds into a ride when one of the bull's horns rams into his head. The impact puts him into a coma that lasts 13 days. 5.5 months later, and against his doctor's advice, he's back in the saddle. But not for long. 50% of all rodeo injuries are suffered by bull riders. It's the highest rate of injuries in rodeo sports. And no one knows this better than this Brazilian rodeo champ. 5.5 months after a severe thrashing leaves him in a coma, back on top of a bull. Five seconds into his ride, the cowboy is knocked off balance, with his riding hand still tethered to the bull. He spins 360 degrees and lands directly on the bull's head. A simple flick of the animal's neck tosses the rider skyward, only to land him back on top of the bull. Hitting the ground with enough force to knock off his helmet, his now unprotected head is stomped by the bull. The bloodied and dazed rider climbs out of the ring. He suffers 8 fractures to his skull, all in the same area where he sustained his previous head injury. But the rodeo champion is undaunted. Once fully recovered from this battering, he again returns to the sport he loves. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It's a typical afternoon at this downtown supermarket. A woman stands in the checkout line buying groceries. Meanwhile, another shopper goes to sit on the bench in front of the window. In an instant, both of their lives will change forever. The woman sitting on the bench is directly in the path of a speeding car. A few feet away, the customer and cashier see the car barreling towards them, but there's little time to react. Only the cashier is able to run to safety. The car finally comes to a stop, 30 feet into the store. Stunned bystanders come to the aid of the injured. The crash is set in motion when the 86-year-old driver hits the gas pedal instead of the brakes. The woman on the bench suffers third-degree burns as she's dragged under the car. The customer in line is severely injured. Both require lengthy hospital stays, but fortunately, they survive. As for the elderly driver, she walks away uninjured, but not without a ticket. She's cited for failure to maintain control of her vehicle. Looking for destruction? You know where to find it, right here on Destroyed in Seconds. I'm Ron Pitts. We'll see you next time.
So, the video was tough. Ron Pitts always still alive, but I don't see him passing out. So, let's do it. Space and by 009 sound system at least 4 minutes.
change. I take my love a higher place. Matter of fact, it don't matter why. It's alright. We could be on Angel's Time, reaching back across the line. You and me never asking why. Oh,
That was the intense music. Do you like this video? Let me know down in the comments. So, before I end this video, my birthday will be Sunday, August 21st. Check this out. This is my birthday, August 21st. It's on Sunday. So, it's on August right now, 2022. Alright, thanks for watching guys. Good night. We'll see you next time.